There you
Hi
go.
everybody, Cellini here. Got another great video, wellness video for you today in my natural healing series. This is on sugar. And we're going to we're going to tell you the science of sugar and what's going on with sugar and everything we're eating every day, and give you some good scientific data information to go on to make some wise choices with your sugar. So, first of all, let's just look at sugar. Here we go. We got a little thing here, table sugar. I just want you to think for a moment. Would you take a teaspoon of this? Now, my last video I did mention to you, I talked about self-care and the mind healing, and I asked you to imagine yourself as a flower or a plant, and what kind of condition were you in? And I also asked, I said, would you keep a plant at your home, or your child or your pet? Would you keep them in the dark and no sunlight? Would you pour salt on that plant, or would you feed a spoonful of sugar to your pet or your child, or a couple teaspoons of that? So that's what we're talking about tonight. Would you just right now think about yourself eating this spoonful of sugar, or a couple of those spoonfuls? So keep that in the back of your mind as we're talking. Or would you give that to your pet, a spoonful of sugar, or your child for that matter? So sugar is a modern food. We didn't have that in the old days. There was no sugar. There were things that were sweet, had a natural sugar in them, fruits and so forth, berries. But this is a modern food, processed white sugar. It's processed. You can take a sugar cane. If you eat sugar cane, it's actually much healthier for you. A natural source of sugar there, and if you break it down, you get molasses out of sugar when they break it down. But that sugar cane has vitamins, minerals, enzyme, nutrients in it. There's something there for your body to digest and utilize. It's got some good calories in there for you. But modern processed sugar, they take that sugar from that cane and they process it, and there's no nutritional benefits for you guys. It's what we call empty or zero calories, right? It's empty calories, and there's zero nutrition in there for you. And we're going to talk a little bit more, but keep in the back of your mind, empty calories store in your body as fat and cholesterol and triglycerides. So not a good thing. Again, modern food, our bodies, they're not made to digest it. It's a foreign material, substance to your body, right? Because sugar was not on this planet in ancient times, right? So your body doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know how to process it properly. It throws everything off. It's not a natural sugar. It's a foreign substance, and it actually acts as a poison to your body. It poisons you, it damages you, and eventually could kill you. Too much sugar. So let's talk about that. Sugar nowadays is added in everything. And I'm going to mention it later, but there's 10 major food companies that own all the food pretty much in the world. 10 big conglomerates, right? And they put sugar in everything. So I've got right here, it's added to bottled. You can see I've got stuff here we're going to go over. To bottled beverages, to packaged foods, to canned foods. It's in everything, guys. It's in everything. We got to learn to read those labels. I'm always talking about that. We'll talk about it a little bit more. But it's in everything. Why? Because right here I said, sweet cells. Sweet cells, right? We're going to talk about how it works for us psychologically, but that's a marketing thing. Sweet also kills, and we're going to talk about that aspect of it too. So we all like sweet, and I'm not saying you can't have some of these things in a little bit, and we're going to talk about that in moderation and in very, very much moderation. But we have to get the sugar under control in our society, guys. If it doesn't happen in society, you have to get it under control in your own life so it doesn't damage you. But it's really scary what's going on here. Now, other forms, there's other forms of sugar. So we've got fruit. There's a lot of different names out there, but we got fructose, dextrose, sucrose, maltose. Corn syrup is a huge one. If you look at a lot of, like, for example, excuse me, not that one, but where's my iced tea? Oh, got mixed up. A lot of corn syrup in there. Why corn? And why are these 10 big companies using corn syrup to replace sugar? It's a lot cheaper. It's not any better for you. It's still just as bad for you. It's still a bad source of sugar. It's not a natural sugar, right? It's processed, and the reason they're doing it's about 20 cents a pound for corn syrup. Sugar is more expensive, so these big companies, they want to save money. They're shooting you up with that corn syrup. Very, very bad for you guys. Very, very, very bad. So a lot of different forms. You got to look at those labels. We're going to talk about glucose, blood sugar, glucose. When you see that cose or tos on the end, watch out. That OSC on the end, watch out. That's some form of sugar in there, guys, and it's not going to be good for you. So you need to read those labels. And the average person consumes, in our society, 60 pounds of corn syrup a year. Pretty shocking value. Wait till you hear this one. Sugar, processed sugar, which is again is in everything. The average person in our society consumes 160 pounds per year. That's astronomical. Now I had this 1 pound bag. That's 160 of those, guys. 160. That bag was full, and I've divvied it up here. We're going to talk about that. That's a lot. It's almost a whole pound right here in these items. That's a lot of sugar. That's way too much sugar. So we also have it, it's hidden in our diets also. I've talked many times on nutrition and on my videos about high glycemic foods, low glycemic foods, complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates. Now, refined carbohydrates is another hidden source of sugar. And so, and it's kind of the white starches, guys. So those white potatoes, the white pasta, the white bread, the white rice, that starch, that's a hidden sugar, and it's pretty much empty calories, guys, and it's going to store again in your body as fat, cholesterol, and triglycerides. So that's another form you have to watch out for. I'm Italian. I've got even one of my recipes with a whole with a white pasta. So, and I let everybody know it's for the weekend. Treat yourself once in a while. I'm saying you can't have these things. You treat yourself a little bit, but in general, you want to really eliminate as much as you can and limit these sugar sources, these refined sources of sugar in your diet. So, what happens when we ingest sugar? Because it's really acts as a poison. It's a foreign substance. Our body is not made to process sugar. It's a man-made thing. It's not natural. So when we eat sugar, it goes into our digestive tract, stomach. It goes into our small intestines. And in the small intestines, what happens, it breaks down. It breaks that sugar down, and it sends it out into the bloodstream. Now, our bloodstream, we've talked before about oxygen transport system, how energy is transferred through our bloodstream when we break down the fats, carbohydrates in our diet, and proteins. All right, and it's going to be distributed in our body for energy and for building cells, so on and so forth. So what happens here is that sugar goes into the bloodstream. Now, small amounts, and when that blood sugar or blood glucose is regular, it doesn't really create a problem, and it's going to supply your cells with energy. It's going to go to your muscles, to your organs, to your brain. Very, very important. We obviously are going to need that sugar for energy. The brain does about 25% takes all oxygen and energy sources to make all the rest of the systems in the body function, so it's important. But we want small amounts regularly. So what happens when we eat these processed sugars? Well, we've talked before about high glycemic, low glycemic, and the glycemic index. And if you're not familiar with it, or if you're not, you need a little review just real quickly on the glycemic index. And you can look all foods up, and from 0 to 100 where the glycemic index is, the level. But basically, we're going to look at high glycemic and low glycemic. And it's speed. Think about this as speed. And this is when the food is breaking down. In this case, the sugar, when it's broken down, it goes into your bloodstream. Right? Everything here is high glycemic, just pure sugar. Right? It's going to enter your bloodstream at high speed. They're high glycemic. Processed sugar is high glycemic. So it enters the bloodstream quickly. Low glycemic enters slowly, gradually. So what happens when it enters quickly? Like you speed up in your car, you're going to get a ticket, accident, or maybe death, right? Same thing here. So that spikes your blood sugar. So we've talked about balance before, homeostasis in the body, the east-west stuff on many of my videos, how we need to keep homeostasis and keep balance to have homeostasis, good wellness, good health, mind and body. So balance is very important. Your body has natural ways of balancing itself. We talked before in some of the videos where if you have some caffeine, it's going to kind of act like sugar. It's going to take you up for a minute, but then you're going to crash later. Your body will put natural chemicals in to bring you back to a balance, and vice versa. If you had some kind of thing that depressed you, brought your body down, later your body would kick a stimulant in, and it would bring you back to normal. So body's natural mechanisms trying to protect you and care for you. So what happens when we get that blood sugar in there, the body is alerted, and it alerts the brain, says, hey, we got too much sugar going in here fast. We need to do something. So it calls up the pancreas and says, pancreas, that organ, let's get busy. You got to send some soldiers in here. You got to send the dump trucks to unload this stuff, load it up, and disperse it. Get it out of the bloodstream, because too much is going to cause problems, cause havoc for us. So the trucks that come in are loaded, that's insulin. Insulin comes in and it regulates, it controls that blood sugar level. Now, there's kind of, I talk here about a vicious cycle that goes on. It's a biochemical thing, again, between the sugar in the blood, your liver, your pancreas, and your central nervous system, your brain. So basically what happens now, we get a spike. So if we measure your blood at that point, when we just had a couple, some of these spoonfuls of sugar, you're going to go hyperglycemic. Hyper, like people that are hyper. There's a lot there, a lot going. There's a lot of sugar, too much in your system. So again, insulin comes in and says, hey, we're going to reduce this down. But now what happens is it comes in and reduces it, and you don't usually get a really good balance. Now you're going to get a crash. You're going to get hypoglycemic. And we've all experienced this after eating sugars or meal. The kids at the party with the cake and stuff, they're zooming around. All of a sudden they crash, and they a couple hours later go to sleep. We've all experienced that with desserts and big meals, too much sugar in our system, and then you get tired and you get lethargic. Well, when you're eating too much sugar all the time, you're going to end up hypoglycemic in general. From day-to-day basis is up and down, and what's going to happen, you're going to get a little spike for a while, but then later you're going to get fatigued, you're going to be sleepy, you're going to be tired, you get that brain fog, you get moody, you get anxious. It again affects that, robbing that central nervous system. So your brain, you can get funny stuff. People even get upset, they get angry. Some people even get violent when it gets to the extreme levels. And we're going to talk about even more extreme levels, what happens when this condition persists. So basically what happens, you get a yo-yo effect. So we got too much, so now the body controls it and bring it down. Now it goes low, you go hypoglycemic, and you get those bad symptoms. So now your brain tells you, and it's in the liver, has stores of sugar in the form of glycogen. We have blood glucose there immediately and in the cells for immediate release. But the liver also stores glycogen, sugar in the form of glycogen. It can release it at different periods. So in general, what's going to happen, now your brain's going to tell you, hey, tell your body, hey, we need more sugar. So it's going to contact you and say, hey, eat some more sugar, eat some more of those carbohydrates, have some more of those sweets, get that blood sugar back up. Another process that happens, I don't want to go into the whole science of this, but we've talked about hormones and feel-good hormones and stress hormones and different hormones that regulate all the activities in our body. Well, what happens is when we eat these sugars, we get a kind of a pleasure sensation from it, and it tastes good. And so it affects the brain, and it's a pleasurable thing. It's kind of like the feel-good hormone that kicks in there. But this all, and I've talked about it a little bit more in depth there, it acts as a drug, really acts like a drug to your body. And it's a biochemical thing. So again, what happens, you get high on it, then it goes low, that's the blood sugar, and then now you're low, so your brain says, hey, we're low, we need some sugar up here. Crave carbohydrates. We've all I've sat when I was younger, and you start that little thing of pasta, you want to eat the whole bucket of pasta because you're getting that yo-yo effect. That's what's causing you to get those cravings. If you get the sugar under control, I promise you those cravings will go away. But it acts as a drug in that way, just like narcotics. Guys, are prescription drugs, and your body gets dependent on it, and your psychology gets dependent on it, right? And people get addicted to sugar. Our society is addicted to sugar. So we need to start curbing this. We need to get away from this. So let me just double check. I've pretty much covered all that stuff about insulin, hyperglycemic, hypoglycemic. Again, excess sugar is stored as fat in your body, and not just belly fat, but if you got belly fat, I'll guarantee your liver is a fatty liver, which is not healthy. It's a bad situation. It's going to destroy your liver, right? Also, cholesterol, bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, so it's going to clog your arteries. Triglycerides, the blood fats, they're bad for you. They're going to clog your arteries. Stroke and heart attack can occur as a result just from eating sugar. You can eat all the other healthy stuff you chew, but if you're doing this sugar, I don't care if you exercise, get your rest, and eat a lot of other good things, right, that we've talked about in my videos. But if you're getting too much sugar, it's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy that whole process and go negative on you. So we need to really, really think about that, guys. Now, big condition. When we get into this state, initially you get that hypoglycemic, where you're low on blood sugar. But what happens is your body keeps in these, and there's beta cells, which I've got here. I'm going a little bit roundabout, but in the pancreas there's these beta cells, and they're the soldiers. They're the workhorses. They're the Spartan warriors working for you, and they send that insulin. But what happens? Even the Spartan warrior can get worn down with too many battles, right? And it can wear you down and destroy you. So that's what can happen to these beta cells. So what starts to happen when you prolong this process over months, years of your life, some people shorter term, other long term, depending on your body's predisposition and how much you're consuming, what happens is your body starts to develop a resistance. These beta cells don't work well. Your body builds up a resistance they call insulin resistance. Now the insulin, which is supposed to lower the blood sugar, is not working. So the end result in this condition is that blood sugar starts staying up. Now before the things I talked about were pre-diabetes, and diabetes is a big killer in our society. Now you're getting into type 2 diabetes, which we're going to talk about. Right? A very, very terrible condition. Now we're getting very close. 420 million people now have type 2 diabetes. If we stay at this rate, they're predicting in about the next 5 years, 1 in 3 people will have type 2 diabetes, and also 1 to 3 children. It is on the rise in adults and children, but it's really become an epidemic with kids in the last decade. So just horrible, too much sugar. It wasn't like that when I was young. We had sugar, but not in everything like it is today. So very, very important to think about that, everybody, and think about your children, think about your health. So again, we talked about those symptoms. I covered all these symptoms: the hypoglycemia, all the poor, your concentration is bad, you're anxious, you're moody, you can't think, you can't focus, you feel tired all the time. You get weight gain, guys. Again, empty calories. So that sugar has to go somewhere, and it's empty calories. It's going to store in your body again as fat, visceral fat, fat around your organs. You have to have some to protect it, but too much is damaging once again. And fluid retention. Sugar affects your electrolyte balance. It wipes out your electrolytes. Remember potassium, I've done videos on different foods with potassium, so very important. Calcium, sodium balance. What happens, it really wipes out your potassium. And when your potassium goes down, sodium goes up. We all know too much sodium, high blood pressure, causes all different types of problems in the body, cellular activity. So I want to mention also, make sure, just in general life, and I've talked about this in many videos, stay hydrated. That really will help keep your electrolyte balance. You need to keep a balance. So I've mentioned over here to eat high potassium foods. So that's going to be a big one for you. Coming back over on this side, when we get to that point of diabetes, now those are the pre-diabetic symptoms up here. Now when we get to diabetes, again, those cells, those beta cells, get damaged. It affects your central nervous system. Again, your brain cells start breaking down. The nervous system starts breaking down. Central nervous system affects every system in the body. So potentially you're going to have damage or lead to disease, and any type of disease affecting any area of the body, because your brain is starting to break down. Not to mention focus, concentration, things we have to do on a daily basis are going to be diminished. Obesity is becoming a factor. Many people that have type 2 diabetes is obese. I'm going to stop there for a moment and skip over to here. So American Diabetes Association. Now, you can look this up and find this out. It's public data. Now, if you go to their website, you'd assume they're going to say, because sugar is causing death, they're going to say, hey, get rid of these sugars, but they really don't. They're kind of disclaiming that sugar is the problem, or excess sugar. And they'll tell you, curb it down a little bit. It's excess calories that's doing it. So why would they say that, right? And they're really saying the cause of type 2 diabetes is obesity. But if you look at the science, you'll see it leads to obesity. So why are they saying this? Why are they taking this position? You can look this up. This is public record. They get $23 million a year from big pharma, pharmacology companies. What? That's drugs that treat diabetes. That's not rocket science, guys. We all know what goes on in the world today: power, greed, money. With any types of organizations, you have to be careful there. What, again, they put sugar in everything. Why? They want to sell, they want to make money. So if the ADA is saying, hey, this sugar's bad for you, it's a problem. So well, let's give them $23 million to be in our ring in the fight here, to sell our foods. Not just big pharma, but that part of that 23 million comes from those 10 big food giants that I talked about. If you don't trust Cellini, look it up. It's public record. So that's pretty scary, everybody. Pretty scary. I want to mention real quick some positives. I skipped over on you. Let me get back to where I was. All right, so we went from obesity, we jumped that little thing with the ADA, but I want to come back here. So again, these are diseases that diabetes leads to very commonly. Stroke, heart attack. We've talked about inflammation, did whole videos on inflammation, on anti-inflammatory foods, and we've talked in many of my videos about how modern medicine and science are all in agreement now that inflammation in the body is the root of most, or cause and root of most diseases today. So that inflammation is huge. Get rid of the sugar, get rid of the inflammation. Kidneys, anybody that knows anything about diabetes knows that the kidney is a problem. A lot of people go on dialysis and can die because their kidneys go out and start failing them from the diabetes effects. You can get extremity neuropathy. That's in the extremities. What happens is, a result, central nervous system's affected, circulation is affected, and you get neuropathy, that numbness. If you have diabetes, you can get numbness in your fingers, in your toes, and when it gets extreme, people get amputations of the extremities. So very scary, guys. They get gangrene, and then it develops as a result and has to be amputated. The limb. Horrible disease, guys. You don't want to go there. And it can happen very quickly. Blindness, it affects the eyes very much so. ADHA, the attention deficit sensitive disorder that many people have. Look at kids. That's one of the big reasons kids are getting it. It's an onset. It's an epidemic now in the last couple decades because they're getting more and more sugar. So they can't focus and concentrate. And then they get the high lows. They're like at the party on the cake, and then boom, then they crash. So either way, they can't focus. They're either too hyper or hypo, just like the blood. So it's a bad situation. We don't want that to happen to our children. We don't want it to happen to us. All types of neurological disorders. Again, we've talked about that with inflammation and some of the other things also. We talked about the anxious, moody, as people get violent, right? They get depressed, right, in this situation. Alzheimer's, which is, again, modern disease, sugars and all these things going on in our diets. Dementia, these two are Alzheimer's, dementia getting huge with the elderly now. It's so much of this is nutrition, guys. We didn't have those diseases, or modern diseases. We didn't have them in the old days, even 50, 60 years ago. So in a nutshell here, let me just look over here and go to a little bit of some substitutes, guys. So less sugar, more protein in your meals. Don't overdo the protein, but you can substitute when you feel like eating something. Protein's very filling. Have a protein snack. Sometimes I'll just snack with some peanut butter and a banana, which is high in potassium. You get some good protein sources. Nuts is a good snack. Monounsaturated fat and protein. We've talked about the value of nuts before. Low glycemic carbohydrates. Right? Look for those vegetables, guys, the fruits. Now, little caution on the fruits, right? Because what happens with the fruits is it's fructose, and it's still a pretty strong form of sugar, so don't overdo there, right? Those, if you eat too many, you can get a little bit more high glycemic. So, but in general, most fruits, because of the fiber, not fruit juice, is going to keep it on the low glycemic scale. Again, all the fiber in the vegetables, low glycemic. So eat a lot of vegetables, guys, moderate on the fruits. Some substitutes, and don't overdo these. Again, it's a sugar source, but they're better. If you look at these are more low glycemic, but they're still sugar sources. I did one recently on the values of raw honey. Okay, antimicrobial. There's so many good things. Most natural food on the planet. Very good, but don't overdo it. Small. He needs a little bit of sweetener, guys, not this terrible sugar. We'll show you how out of control it is. Dolcetta, that's a one if you haven't heard about that, look it up. Low glycemic. Coconut sugar is more low glycemic. Now there's other alternatives for these refined carbohydrates also. I've done videos where I've been using, I used a recipe with almond flour. which one of my clients asked me to do that, so I did a nice almond flour, but that's an alternative. It's low glycemic, and you can use that flour for desserts, for anything, and use one of these substitutes for the sugar in your baking. If you like to bake, you can still do that, guys. I had a pizza about a year ago, but for the first time with cauliflower crust. It was out of this world, delicious. So made one myself, and I crave it sometimes now. So there's a good substitute. I've done a video with spinach pasta, zucchini pasta. These have little machines where you can take the zucchini and break it down. It's just like pasta and make your pasta with that. So there's alternative, guys. There's all types of alternatives you can do. And then on the weekend, and once in a while, you have your little treats and snacks and pasta, whatever it is, sugar, ice cream, whatever. I like all those things, right? But in very small amounts. Because again, we want to keep that sugar level constant in our bloodstream. Constant, guys. We don't want those ups and downs. Constant. If you keep it constant, you keep the sugar under control. You're going to have energy, mentally and physically. You're going to be sound. Your performance in life is going to be so much better. So real quick, I just want you to look at these things here. This is the amount of sugar in one serving apple juice, okay? Oh, big. So now we're getting away from the terrible Coke and sodas a little bit more with kids nowadays. Get them some apple juice. That's good for them. Well, let's look at this apple juice right here. That's got 30 grams. 30 grams of sugar per serving. But there's 4 servings in here. So 4 times that, about the size of that cup, is in that one bottle of apple juice. That's poisoning your kids, guys. So think about it. Okay, Dollar Tree, 99-cent store, you can get it's all over. You can get those for 99 cents there. This is where I picked this up, right? This is crazy, guys. This is crazy. 46 grams of sugar in one serving. This is 2 servings, so that's half of this can. So double this if you drink that 1 can. That's how much sugar you're consuming. So again, I'm going to go real quickly here. This is for 1 serving, so do go by 4. So there's 4 of these in that orange juice. Orange juice is supposed to be good for us, right? Check this one out. This is just a clean sports hydration water with lime, right? Natural, great tasting, natural hydration. The amount of sugar in that 1 bottle of water. Guys, water. We don't need sugar in water. Kidding me? Everybody likes Starbucks. Look how much is in one. One, guys. This is a little can of Coke. What's the ounces on that? 12 ounces. Look how much sugar's in there. Horrible. Now check this out. This is Nestle came out with this Nido. It's a product for immune system, vitamins A, C, D, iron, zinc. Boy, look at that little happy baby right there, right? Kinder's 1 Plus. Look at the amount of sugar in 1 serving for that little, who's going to end up being an unhappy baby with diabetes, right? And there's 10 servings, so 10 times this amount is in that 1 can. Pretty scary. Sports energy drinks, look how much is in there, that 1 can. Just, again, you got to watch out for canned and packaged foods, bottles, guys. They're adding sugar to it. This is pasta sauce. It shouldn't be sweet. It's supposed to be tangy, tart, almost bitter. Then you add your herbs in there. Look at the amount in 1 can, guys. Poison. Tomato soup, same thing. It's not supposed to be sweet. Good old Gatorade. Supposed to put your electrolytes back, right? But sugar depletes your electrolytes, so you're defeating the purpose. And look at all the sugar you're getting in 1 Gatorade. It's pretty scary. Let's finish up here. This is a premium protein bar, but look how much sugar they're putting in it. Low-fat, healthy yogurt. Not so healthy. Look at that little yogurt and how much sugar. You might as well just eat those spoonfuls of sugar, guys. Pineapple, one of the most natural sweet things on the planet. You get the canned, get the fresh, guys, yourself. Get the canned. Look how much sugar you get in that little can of pineapple. Pretty scary. If you like ketchup, what a lot of people do, look at that beautiful bottle of Hunt's ketchup. That's how much sugar is in that 1 bottle. It's pretty darn scary. Fruit Loops. Yeah, I used to love those when I was a kid. 12 grams per serving. 7 servings in there. So there's how much you're getting, guys. And Fruit Loops, as a matter of fact, sweetened multigrain cereal, natural fruit flavors. I looked down the ingredients. I didn't see one thing that had to do with fruit. And I saw 5 different types of dyes. Every color in there has a different type of chemical dye. So we times that by 7, guys. Times that by 7 in this box. Quaker Oats. I forget where I put the box. Anyway, look at that little teeny package. Oatmeal is supposed to be healthy, but look how much sugar's in that. The Kind Bars, 5 super grains, 100% whole grains, gluten-free, vitamins and minerals. That little teeny bar has that much sugar. Anyway, guys, there it is. Reality. Start eliminating and cutting the sugar out. Look at your alternatives. Save your own life. Save your children. Get away from it. Be well, everyone. Cellini out.